Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fourth episode of Digital Downtime. It's your boy Gilly here. The Game Awards 2023 come and gone. Very interesting night. A lot of people have comments about the overall show's pacing and focus, which we will, trust me, we will dive a little deeper in. But the way I'm going to split this up is we're going to talk about all the winners first, and then we'll talk about all the announcements, toppled off with my overall and final thoughts about the show in general. For this week's Have You Played This? It's tied into what was kind of revealed at the Game Awards by one famous publisher slash developer. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, let's talk the Game Awards in its entirety. So let's get the big one out of the way first. Game of the Year. As I mentioned, the nominees in the very first episode: Alan Wake 2 by Remedy, Baldur's Gate 3 by Larian, Spider-Man 2 by Insomniac, Resident Evil 4 by Capcom, Super Mario's Wonder and Tears of the Kingdom, both by Nintendo. And as predicted, no surprise here, Baldur's Gate 3 winning, and well deserved. I promise you all, one day I will tackle this game when I feel like I have the time and mental capacity to do so. It might take a while, but we will play it, so no surprise here. And Baldur's Gate 3, I think if I remember correctly, ended up winning 6 awards. But yes, no surprise here. Like I said, the sleeper winner here could have been Alan Wake 2, Tears of the Kingdom, just because it's the Zelda, or Baldur's Gate 3. And Baldur's Gate 3 won, so no surprise. Congratulations to Larian Studios. Next up is Player's Voice. Baldur's Gate 3, Phantom Liberty, Genshin Impact, Spider-Man 2, and Tears of the Kingdom. This was obviously one of the awards we did not talk about in the first episode because it wasn't a thing then. And there's like a multi-round voting process for the specific award. The Player's Voice is obviously 100% just player voted. I'm glad to see Phantom Liberty in here. I really am. And also surprised to see Genshin Impact, but that kind of just shows the game's following and how big it really is. So there's that. Obviously I'm not really attached to the gacha scene or mobile gaming or like those vein of games, but there is strong player bases to them. So, but once again, the winner, Baldur's Gate 3, no surprise. Best game direction: Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Wonder, Tears of the Kingdom. Ended up going to Alan Wake 2, so congrats Remedy on that. Clearly, phenomenal direction from what I've seen, and this is probably a game I will be tackling soon. So, congrats to Remedy on that one. Best art direction: Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Tears of the Kingdom. I thought best art direction should have been either Hi-Fi Rush or Super Mario Bros. Wonder, because I just think colorful, poppy visuals is what, is the art style that helps games remain prevalent in terms of like visuals and, not dating themselves, let's say like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I was rooting for Hi-Fi Rush on this one, but this also goes to Alan Wake 2. I am not surprised, but yeah. Best score and music. Now the site I'm looking at says it went to Tears of the Kingdom, but if I remember correctly, wasn't it FF16 that won this? Am I tripping? Yes. Yeah, okay. So I'm looking at PCGamer.com just for full disclosure of what I'm checking. That one is incorrectly listed. Um, it was Final Fantasy 16 as the winner, and well deserved again. Sorry, composer Masayoshi Soken, well deserved. The other nominees included Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Hi-Fi Rush, and Tears of the Kingdom. So, PC Gamer, I don't know, you're probably too big to listen to this podcast or even know who the hell I am. Fix your shit, right? Because I was like, wait, it was FF16. So, congrats to Square Enix and Masayoshi Soken, well deserved. Best audio design: Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, RE4. Now, to me, it had to be one of the horror games. I know Dead Space did a wonderful job, same with RE4 and Alan Wake 2, I guess. But when we're looking at audio design, which is obviously different than the previous award, which is score and music, um, Hi-Fi Rush was very integral. The audio design, because it was key literally to the core of the gameplay and how the game functioned. So, and that was the winner. So, shout out to Tango Gameworks. I'm just glad Hi-Fi Rush won something. And again, a title I will play. I know I say this a lot, but yeah, it will be something I play eventually. I know it's on the shorter side too, so congrats there to team at Xbox, Bethesda, and more so the developers. Tango Gameworks. Great left field game to bang off the year. Something many players were not expecting, especially from the devs of Evil Within and Ghostwire Tokyo. So shout out to them. Best performance: we had Ben Starr, FF16, Cameron Monaghan for Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba for Phantom Liberty, Melanie Libbard for Alan Wake 2, Neil Newbone, Baldur's Gate 3, and Yuri Lowenthal for Marvel Spider-Man 2. I know a lot of people were voting or rooting for Ben Starr for his performance as Clive, FF16. The winner was Neil Newbin, Baldur's Gate 3. Again, like I said, probably much deserved. This is one of the tighter categories. I think I mentioned this in the first episode of Digital Downtime as well. Shout out to Neil against Baldur's Gate 3. And you will be hearing a lot of these awards being won. So huge technical, not technical, huge feeding body of work by Larian Studios for what is Baldur's Gate 3 from all fronts, because they're almost nominated. You know, they won 6 awards, but they're almost nominated for every single category, which is kind of wild to me. So, shout out to them. Innovation and accessibility. You know, I don't know much because this is kind of a category you kind of have to play the games to really figure out all the stuff they put in for accessibility features and whatnot. So I could be a little ignorant here. But we had Diablo 4, Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1, Street Fighter 6. The winner was Forza Motorsport. So shout out to Turn 10 Studios and the team at Xbox. You know, but I do know Street Fighter 6 had a lot of accessibility issues, along with Mortal Kombat 1, I believe, as well. Because they're trying to make fighting games more and more accessible. But shout out to Forza Motorsport, Games for Impact. Now, this nominee was interesting to me. And if you caught my live stream of the Game Awards, it's not really an issue, but Games for Impact, it's like what defines an impactful game, right? What's the criteria? Are we looking at, you know, how accessible the game is, its direct social impact or commentary, how it moves you? Like what does Games for Impact really, you know, define? Like, can we define what Games for Impact really means? I feel like the criteria here is very broad. So that's the only thing for me that gets a bit confusing on, okay, so like what is this category really recognizing, sort of thing. But we did have a space for the Unbound, chance for Sonar, Goodbye Volcano High, Chia, Terranil, and Venba. Um, most of these games, most of the games in this category every year are usually indie titles. So obviously they're always trying to push some sort of like social commentary or something along those lines. The winner was Chia. And this game is pretty cheap right now on the PS5. I know it's coming out on Steam next year, so it might be something I pick up soon and just go through. Obviously, it's an exploration kind of, lack of better words. I hate using this term, but Breath of the Wild-esque game because there's been plenty of exploration games before Breath of the Wild. But shout out to Chia. And the Game Awards helped me learn about the other nominee in this category, Venba, which is like an Indian cooking game. Saw a little bit of insight when I was watching them live. So might be able to something to check out too. Being Indian myself to see what kind of a message is conveyed in that game. But yeah, shout out to Chia. Very very cool. Best ongoing with Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, FF14, Fortnite, Genshin Impact. Usually this category is reserved for multiplayer games as continuously update. So like seeing Apex here, FF14, Fortnite, Genshin. These are kind of your standard nominees in this category. Then we got Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I don't know if it's more of an ongoing thing. I guess for them to push out update 2.0 and now the recent update 2.1, which adds even more stuff. Um, and then Phantom Liberty as a whole, it required a lot of ongoing development behind the scenes. And Cyberpunk did end up winning, which is a bit interesting to me. But nevertheless, I keep referring back to this first episode. I spoke high volumes about what Phantom Liberty is and the state of the game now compared to like the 6 out of 10 I gave the game, 3 years ago at original release. So I'm glad to see Cyberpunk win it because the game did come a long way. Like I said, it's still not like I wouldn't play through the base game again, but just going through Phantom Liberty and doing it all and the ride that was, obviously, like if the core mechanics weren't fixed, I felt like Phantom Liberty wouldn't have been that awesome of a ride. Nevertheless, like obviously the story written and Dogtown was cool, but obviously the overall overhaul of the game's mechanics and engine and perk trees and everything made it a better experience. So shout out to CD Projekt Red. Obviously it's not a trend I like seeing in gaming, where games are messy at launch and then they get fixed over time and they get like this universal praise. Uh, but there are some instances where devs just completely drop the game. They made their money, whatever, and they move forward. So I'm a bit of the middle of the line here. Like I don't think they deserve the overpraise because obviously the game should have been better at launch. But I still will give respect for them to sticking to it and making it the experience it is now. So shout out to CD Projekt Red. Best community sport: Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Destiny 2, which is kind of a Lamau, FF14, and No Man's Sky. Best community sports always usually the FF14, uh, winner automatic. But this year I went to Baldur's Gate 3, and let's not forget before Baldur's Gate 3 got officially released this year, it was in early access for a while, and people were praising it then, and obviously listen to feedback over the 2 years or however long it was to publish the full release 1.0 to what it is today or what it was when it released in August. Saw this universal acclaim. So it makes sense to me. Best independent game, we have Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. It was funny all the controversy with Dave the Diver, which we already touched upon in the first episode as well. But pretty strong year, as I mentioned then as well. Usually indie games get more of a focal point, but I think this year was just so stacked with AAA games after AAA games. They kind of got lost in the mix. But obviously Cocoon's been getting some recognition, same with all the nominees here. Um, and the winner was Sea of Stars, which is what I was kind of expecting, just for what the game did and its love for the 8-bit, SNES RPG era love by a Western studio. So for them to develop like an old school JRPG that has been beloved by hardcore fans of the genre and stuff, good on them. Well deserved. Best debut indie game. Obviously, is reserved for games that are published or developed by first-time developers. So, Cocoon and Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder. This one was given to Cocoon, and this game is something I've been keeping my eye on. So, we'll play it eventually, for sure. Best mobile game. Like I said, previously. I don't know jack shit. Not really much of a mobile gamer. I rarely even use my Switch in portable mode, to be honest. It's just not how I prefer my gaming. But nevertheless, we had Final Fantasy VII, Ever Crisis, Hello Kitty, Island Adventure, Honkai Star Rail, Monster Hunter Now, and Terra Nil. The winner here is Honkai Star Rail. And like I said, Hoyoverse developed both Honkai and Genshin, if I am doing that correctly. Yes, I believe so. So both very popular. So no surprise here with Honkai Star Rail winning. And actually, it's a decent game. So best VR: Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Call the Mountain, Humanity, Resident Evil Village VR mode, and Synapse. And this was a no-brainer for me as well. The only right choice here was Resident Evil Village VR mode, and that was the winner. So congrats, Capcom. Best action game, we had Armored Core 6, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Remnant 2. And like I said, I picked Armored Core 6 to win just because it really defines what an action game is. From Software kind of just mastering that genre at this point, and that was the winner. So again, another non-surprise. Best action adventure, we had Alan Wake 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2, RE4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom won this simply because couldn't win Game of the Year this year, but they had to give them something. I think I mentioned this would be my pick of the winner, so really no big surprises so far in all these categories. Best RPG, and at this point, do I really have to even mention? We had Baldur's Gate 3, FF16, Eliza P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. I think all these games deserve to be here, minus Starfield, but though Starfield, like I said, was disappointing, I didn't live up to like the major hype behind it. It was still a solid, like I said, 6.5, 7 out of 10 game. And it is an RPG. No doubt about that, nevertheless. So, it got punted somewhere. So you Starfield fans, you don't have to cry too hard. It was at least recognized for something, some sort of nominee. Obviously, the winner here is Baldur's Gate 3. Well, I'm glad to see Sea of Stars here. Like I said, for an independent studio to be nominated against these heavy hitters, good job. Also, shout out to Liza P because you've been hearing great things about that. Probably the best Souls-like release of the year. Some people are saying it's Lord of the Fallen, something. I think it's Liza P for sure. So shout out to Round 8 Studio to get nominated, and to Sabotage Studio for Sea of Stars. But yes, Baldur's Gate 3, not a chance, right? Best fighting game was also straightforward. Like I said, you had God of Rock, MK1, All-Star Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, and Street Fighter 6. Obviously, Street Fighter 6 had to win this, or I would have been throwing hands myself. You get it? I would have been throwing hands. Best fighting game, yeah, okay. That's my dad joke for the episode. I'll stop. Shout out Capcom. Best family game. Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Again, another category that's usually essentially just saying best Nintendo game. I thought Party Animals should have been the winner here, but of course, there's a lot of controversy around the game not having local co-op and getting review bombed on Steam and whatnot. And it just didn't grab the attention that I thought it would in terms of the streaming creators, the land space, and just overall, like I know it's hard to recreate that Among Us, hype magic that once bestowed upon us back in 2020. But I thought maybe Party Animals would have been able to capture at least half of that essence, but it didn't. So the winner here was Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Obviously the co-op mode is probably a lot of fun and whatnot. Just would have thought it would have been Party Animals, but hey. Best Sim Strategy. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, City Skylines 2, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, Pikmin 4. I think I voted for Engage. I don't remember correctly now what we went through in the first episode regarding this category specifically. So I thought it would have been Engage or City Skylines 2. Ended up being Pikmin 4, and I know Pikmin 4 is a strong title with the beloved, loyal fan base behind it. So shout out to Pikmin. Best sports racing. I think I voted for EA Sports FC24 because that's the only one I really play. But besides that, we have F1 23, Forza Motorsport, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, Cree Motorfest, the Crew Motorfest. So essentially, 4 racing games in FIFA. Forza Motorsport was a winner. So shout out to Turn 10 Studios again for their second award of the night. Best multiplayer, we had Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I thought this would have gone to Street Fighter 6 or Party Animals. It ended up going to Baldur's Gate 3. And I guess the reasoning behind it is because there is co-op in the game. I'm not stupid to that. But obviously, depending on what your friends or your co-op members, what their playthroughs are like, and the interactions they have with certain NPCs and their backgrounds, and like I said, I'm just from my knowledge, right, can change your whole entire experience. So it makes sense to give it to Baldur's Gate 3 because it's probably just such a unique experience with your friends, right? Best adaptation, like I said, another strong category. Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo, Last of Us, Super Mario Bros. And Twisted Metal. To no surprise, Last of Us was the winner. Most anticipated game was also not surprising because, I mean, you had Hades 2 in here, like a Dragon Infinite Wild, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. No disrespect to Hades, obviously, very beloved game for the first one, but it is an indie title. Same thing with like a Dragon, no disrespect, but most anticipated, you never really hear like Yakuza being like, the most best selling or largest impact game of the year, right? So, Star Wars Outlaws, while it looks promising to me and many others, just Ubisoft and Massive's track record can be a little worrisome. So, and then Tekken 8 again, I'm very hyped for it. I'm looking forward to playing it. But the fighting game community as a whole across the board, you know, not as big as we think compared to like the realm of gaming as a whole. So that only leaves us with FF7 Rebirth, and that was what won. And it's just because FF7 is just one of the most beloved games of all time, and obviously probably one of the most major, if not the most major JRPG ever made. So obviously, they're doing the trilogy for FF7 with the remakes, and Rebirth does look pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie. So for me, this is pretty unanimous that it won. So there you go. The rest is Content Creator of the Year, Best Esports Game, Best Esports Athlete, Best Esports Team, Best Esports Coach, Best Esports Event, which we don't have to go through in much detail, but Content Creator of the Year was Iron Mouse, Best Esports Game was Valorant, Best Esports Athlete was Faker, Best Esports Team was JD Gaming, Best Esports Coach was Potter, and the Best Esports Event was the League of Legends World Championship. So, yeah, that was the winner. Those are my brief thoughts on them. Nothing really too out of the gate for me here, aside from best multiplayer, but I understand why. Best sim strategy, maybe best family as well. But in terms of the major awards, I think we predicted them all right. So yeah, those are all the winners. Now, next we will be talking about all the announcements, which is going to definitely take a lot more time here. So sit back and relax, and I'll try not to drag this on too long. All right. All right. So let's talk about all the announcements, which essentially what the Game Awards is, and we'll touch more about this later. Um, I remember reading a statistic saying that only 30 minutes out of the 3.5 hour show was focused on the actual awards themselves. So, interesting statistic there. But essentially, the Game Awards now, or has been for a while, kind of just a winter version of E3. So, the announcements is a big part, the big reveals and whatnot, and it's what most people, to be honest, really tune in for. The awards really, more or less, don't mean a lot because you got to enjoy whatever games you want to play. Your enjoyment for a game is always subjective, so remember that. I don't know why people get so caught up with the winners and losers. I just like discussing them because it's fun to me, like what I predict and whatnot. And for the most part, nothing was a surprise in terms of the winners. But let's get into these chunky amount of reveals and world premieres for the Game Awards 2023. A lot went on. The pre-show kicked off with the Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons remake. I don't know, like, if this really needed a remake or whatnot, but it looks alright. No, I played the game before, so this is something I'm gonna skip over. Um, but it is coming out. Forgot early 2024 sometime. So that's what kicked off the pre-show. Next was Pony Island 2. This is from the Inscription creator Daniel Mullins, and it features a mix of a first-person open world with a 2D within a game that mixes multiple formats from old school pixel gameplay. Slated for 2025 or 2026. The trailer kind of kept us on our toes of when it was going to release, but it looked pretty interesting. Next is The Rise of the Golden Idol, which is the sequel to The Case of the Golden Idol, which is a game I have yet to play, but I want to play. I saw the boy Seas, aka City, in the third play it. If you're not familiar with who Seas is, one of the goated people within the content creation space for gaming. So always find out some of these more unknown or overlooked indie titles from him. So, but yeah, The Rise of Golden Idol is coming to Netflix games, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and PC. So it's interesting to see the games that Netflix games is incorporating into their catalog. And it looks interesting. So there was that. Next was Usual June. The next game from Finji, the studio behind Night in the Woods and Tunic. The trailer showed the character June, hence the title of the game Usual June, who's being followed by a mysterious ghost. Looked like a cool art style. I'm not sure about the gameplay, but this will be launching in 2025. Harmonium the Musical, musical adventure game from the Odd Gentlemen, made to be accessible to the deaf. The game is fully subtitled, and everyone in the game speaks in sign language along with the singing. This will be coming on the Game Pass and Netflix games as well. We saw Windblown, latest creation from Motion Twin, the creator of Dead Cells. The teaser trailer did not show any gameplay, but introduces one of the characters, the world, and a foreboding cyclone. Set to hit early access on PC in 2024. We saw Thrasher, described as a mind-melting cosmic eraser and an essential audiovisual experience from Drool, studio behind the 2016 cult hit Thumper. The trailer showed off some of the game's psychedelic gameplay and hinted at a 2024 release window. Next, we saw a partnership between two of the bigger two independent games, Dave the Diver and Dredge, based on your definition of what's indie. Two unexpected hits coming together. The creatures and the characters from the Horror Fisher game are coming to Dave the Diver on December 15th. Let me just check my calendar here. So that will be the same day as this podcast will be released. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check it out. We saw Exodus for the first reveal during the main show. We have Matthew McConaughey come out for this. New sci-fi RPG from Archetype Entertainment, which is a studio made up of former BioWare developers. And to me, the game looked very Mass Effect-y. The trailer introduced the main character, known as the Traveler, and introduced the game's time dilation mechanics, which they also showed gameplay, and that mechanic is going to play into both the gameplay and storytelling. So when they first showed it, I was like, this looks very Mass Effect-y. Later to find out it's from former BioWare veterans. So that makes sense to me. And a big get with Matthew McConaughey, so interested. Keep my eyes on that. Nothing about the release date or anything there. So, and surprise news: we had God of War Ragnarok Valhalla announced as a free downloadable content for God of War Ragnarok, which is set to be a free roguelike mode where Kratos travels with Mimir to a mysterious island filled with monsters. And then the mode will be available on December 12th. So when this podcast is released, it will be already out for 3 days. So I still got to go through the base game. But the fact that they're going to have a free roguelike mode for a AAA game is very intriguing to me. And, before I echoed this a long time ago with the Returnal, I want to see more AAA studios attack the roguelike genre. And now we get a free mode for it. It's very interesting indeed, and a good surprise. We saw Big Walk, cooperative multiplayer adventure about teamwork and walking, where players will band together to solve puzzles and make new discoveries. Developed by House, who released Untitled Goose Game and scheduled to launch in 2025. Game looks very quirky and fun. Next, we have one of Xbox's heavy hitters, Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga, followed by a performance of the original song for the game by Helung. A new trailer for Hellblade 2 was shown, which is obviously Ninja Theory's next project. Got to see a bit more of the game, multiple locations, enemies, and some gameplay. Finally, at the combat. And it said it's scheduled for release in 2024. Nothing more specific beyond that. But the game does look pretty crazy. Everything that was shown was captured on the Series X, not the PC. So I really hope this is something very big for the team over at Xbox. Because the amount of love and hype and time and promotion they're giving to the title, I'm hoping it will be. And Ninja Theory does deserve that. So I just hope it delivers. Now, one of my favorite announcements for the entire night, we saw no rest for the wicked. And next game from Moon Studios, who are the creators of the Ori franchise. And this is Moon Studios' take on a Diablo-esque game, for the lack of better words. But yes, it is an action RPG. Clearly has more of a darker tone than their previous projects, and based on the violence and gore. It follows a kingdom whose king has recently died, which plunges the world into chaos. The game will offer single-player and 4-player co-op, as most ARPGs do. And more information will be shared during the Wicked Inside Digital Showcase on March 1st. My dumbass originally thought that March 1st was their release date, and I was like, wow, that's like right around the corner. Crazy. But it's not. It's a digital showcase. And it will be also, I saw saying that it will be releasing on PS5. So this won't be, given Ori was exclusively to Xbox and PC originally before going over to the Switch and whatnot. I thought this would have been like another Xbox title, but it will be multi-plat. But nevertheless, it looks fucking sick. If there's any game I talk about during this whole announcement segment from the Game Awards, please check out No Rest for the Wicked, an ARPG from the Ori devs. So next, we saw Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, a new Dragon Ball game in the Budokai Tenkaichi style of arena combat. Brief trailer showed Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, and more Dragon Ball's well-known characters battling out. I'm always in for some new Budokai Tenkaichi. It looked visually sick. No more details given on the release date or whatnot, but it will be coming out to the Xbox Series X, PS5, and PC. We saw a casting of Frank Stone, which is a joint venture development, I guess, from Behavior Interactive and Supermassive Games. Obviously, Behavior Interactive's the Dead by Daylight devs, and Supermassive Games is responsible for Until Dawn, The Quarry, etc. It's a narrative horror game set in the wider universe of Dead by Daylight, and the trailer showed off some of the choices players will make through the story. It's confirmed a 2024 release window for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, so we'll see how that will be. Next, we have a game from Square, and when they showed it, I thought it was going to be a new Dragon Quest. And then before my buddy Dave corrected me saying it looked like a new Mana game, and indeed, it is Visions of Mana. Square Enix bringing back its storied Mana RPG franchise with Visions of Mana. An all-new entry, which is due for release in 2024. Showed off the game's many characters, locations, and a few enemies, including the fan favorite Rabbites, and will be releasing in 2024 as well for the PS5 and PS4, surprisingly, Xbox Series X, S, and PC. Now for a very big reveal, we got to see OD, which I'm guessing will be Overdose, but who knows what that title could mean. But this was putting the rumors to rest. The long-rumored collaboration between longtime developer and storytelling Go, Hideo Kojima, and Xbox Game Studios finally revealed in a bizarre trailer with the multiple people reciting the same speech in different ways. Jordan Peele was also revealed to be collaborating on the project, and Kojima mentioned that there will be more and more, maybe I guess horror minds, creative, dubbing them as the Avengers working on the title. Don't know what the fuck this is gonna be, but it looks interesting. But Jeff, I don't think Kojima needed like 10 minutes on stage to explain this, and I'll explain that later why. But Kojima on Xbox. So another big reveal for Xbox following Hellblade 2. It's good for them. Saw Fortnite Rocket Racing, which has already been out. Go play it. FF7 Rebirth. We saw a live performance of the song from upcoming Rebirth. A new trailer was shown, and there's an extended version of the trailer that wasn't shown at the Game Awards, which is worth checking out, especially if you're FF7 fans. A lot of things going on in that trailer, let me tell you. And then there's also an Apex Legends collaboration coming out in January. So talking about left field stuff didn't have Apex Legends and FF7 and Square and Respawn working together in my Game Awards bingo card. But yeah, teases the FF7 trailer teases something about an iconic character with an iconic moment. Keep it at that. We saw Tales of Kenzara Zao, Metro style action game made by Surgent Studios, part of the EA Original program. EA Originals, obviously, it's a publishing team by EA looking to highlight smaller games. You know, It Takes Two, A Way Out, a few other games. So a very cool little project for EA, focusing on some of indie titles to get that showcasing. The game follows a mystery surrounding his father and involving the god of death, among others. The game set to launch April 23rd on Xbox, PlayStation, the Switch, and PC. And it's going to tackle grief. And, obviously the individual presenting was very emotional, talking about his own grief in life. So something to keep your eye on right here. Tales of Kenzara Zao. ZAU. We saw another game from Don't Nod, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. Don't Nod's been doing a lot of shit. The game follows Swan, Nora, Autumn, and Cat, four high school friends who reunite 27 years after promising never speak again. At this point, I'm not really sure how my interest level peaks for Don't Nod games, but they're always showing something. So if that's part of your bucket interest pool, check it out. In terms of another surprising reveal, we saw Marvel's Blade, and we know Marvel's been getting their feet wet. Not their feet wet, have been getting their feet wet in the gaming sphere. Obviously, we have Marvel Spider-Man on the PlayStation by Insomniac. Insomniac also is working on Marvel's Wolverine. We know they have a collaboration with EA, working on an Iron Man game and a Black Panther game. And now we have Marvel's Blade, which is made from Arcane Lion, responsible for Deathloop and the Dishonored series. Not Arcane Austin, who's responsible for Redfall and Prey. So I think it's in the right Arcane Studios' hands. The brief teaser showed Blade in a barber's chair before gunshots and other noise outside interrupt his appointment. There's no release window, and there was no clear Xbox marketing around this either, which is making people wonder online. And people always, I feel like, have this repeated thing about, oh, is this game going to be exclusive to Xbox? They're doing it with Starfield, they were doing it with other things. And to me, I don't know any reason why Xbox would allow Bethesda and Arcane Lion to make this multi-plat since they own them. So expect this to be a PC and Xbox exclusive and day one Games Pass, because that's kind of the whole point of Microsoft and Xbox acquiring all these studios. And it would make sense so that Xbox has their own flagship kind of Marvel superhero game, as PlayStation has both Spider-Man and Wolverine eventually. So very excited for this. Was not expecting this to be announced at all. Gives me hope that it's Arcane Lion working on the title and not Arcane Austin. And it's also going to be a third-person game, which I think is their first venture, if I'm not mistaken, considering Dishonored and Deathloop are both FPSs. So, all right, first-person perspective at least. Okay. It's not really just a straight-up shooter, but you get what I was saying. Very excited about that. Mecha Break, Mecha Battle game developed by Season Games. 3v3, 6v6, and battle royale modes. Yep. Armored Core style PvP game. See how that goes. Saw Palia, which is a cozy life sim, which I've seen. I feel like I've been seeing a lot this year, and just a trend in the past couple of years. Coming to Nintendo Switch on December 14th, so today. Let's check it out if you want to. Light No Fire, next game from No Man's Sky creator Hello Games. The teaser trailer, which is supposedly all in-game footage, shows a group of 4 players traveling across a challenging world, both on foot and flying on winged beasts. Multiple biomes are shown, from snowy mountains to arid deserts to lush green fields. No release window, but could be an interesting title. Saw Stormgate debuted a new story and gameplay trailer during the Game Awards. New character in the game called Wars, who will be voiced by Shanghai and Barbie star Simu Liu, who also came out to present and announce this announcement. So we'll see how Stormgate is. I know it's made by ex-Blizzard devs. I know it's been kind of getting a little bit of a slightly mixed response based on the early playtesting and whatnot. But I hope Frost Giant Studios pulls it off, because there needs to be a bigger fish in the RTS scene. And it could be this. So saw Elfet Valentine get added to Guilty Gear Strive right now. Final Fantasy 16 DLC. There'll be 2 story expansions coming up for FF16. Echoes of the Fallen, Rising Tide. Echoes of the Fallen is now available, and it sees Clav and company stand up to what the trailer calls an iconoclastic defense system, where I think the bigger Rising Tide, it's going to be more of chunkier expansion, which is set to release in spring 2024. So a lot coming up for FF16. Maybe something I should pick up. Who knows? The show closed off with Monster Hunter Wilds, the next installment of the Monster Hunter franchise, obviously by Capcom. The brief teaser showed a hunter riding a monster through a pack of traveling creatures who are also luring larger monsters to them. The game is scheduled for Xbox Series X, S, PlayStation 5, and PC in 2025. And not really announced, not really mentioned during the show. But Baldur's Gate 3, as we were mentioning earlier in this episode, won Game of the Year and many other awards. Got released instantly on Xbox X Series S, so instantly out. Also, I'm using GameSpot.com to check these out. So I just like to show my sources of what. I can't memorize all this stuff all, but they did not mention the finals anywhere here. So the finals got released during the Game Awards. They showed a trailer and it got silently dropped. So I did play the beta of that, and we'll be checking it out. So probably by next podcast time, you'll hear my thoughts on the game. Apparently, there is a lot of buggy stuff going on, but don't want to forget about the finals made by Embark Studios, right? Let me just check Steam real quick. I think I have that right. Anyways, which is former ex-dev, holy shit, ex-DICE devs, Battlefield. And you do get those vibes when you play the game. So, yeah. That was all the announcements. What were you guys the most hyped for? For me, I'm just scrolling through this again. Make sure I don't miss anything. Marvel's Blade is one that's interesting to me. FF7 Rebirth, of course. OD. Dragon Ball. No Rest for the Wicked still up there for me. Hell's Blade 2. And this is also missing. Come on, GameSpot. You're missing another one. Okay, Rise of the Ronin was also shown by Team Ninja. Ninja Gaiden and Neo devs and whatnot. They're open world like Samurai, kind of Ghost of Tsushima-esque, but obviously going to be way harder, more tight game. Coming out in March, I believe. So let me just check out another site here to see every single announcement, because I felt like something's got missed. So just to recap, for 2023. Baldur's Gate 3 for Xbox out. Finals out. Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader out now. FF16 Echoes of the Fallen out now. Ark Survival Ascended out now. Guilty Gear Strive. Character DLC, like a Fortnite, Avatar, Valhalla will be out by the time this podcast is out. 1.0 for Ready or Not, Dave the Diver Dredge, Alia, and a few other games. Excuse me. 2024. Obviously, Apex Legends, Final Fantasy VII collab January 9th. Oh yeah, Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, January 18th. Persona 3 Reload, February 2nd, 2024. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, February 2, 2024. And I wanted to touch a little bit more based on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Um, the live action servicey elements is still making me kind of mad about it, and I know the game's just getting just universally crapped on now. But the more and more I see of it, the more and more I see it being like a true Rocksteady game. Obviously, they made the Batman Arkham series, and that's a beloved franchise. So the more and more I see the gameplay of Suicide Squad, it looks interesting to me. But we'll just see how that goes. But that's February 2nd. Helldivers 2 is February 8th. Banishers Ghost of New Eden, February 13th. Skull and Bones, February 16th. Doesn't get pushed back again. February 28th is Brothers of Tales of Two Sons Remake. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, February 29th. Yeah, Rise of the Ronin. Sorry, there you go. This is what I was mentioning about the PS5 exclusive by Team Ninja. Open world Samurai S game. March 22nd. We had Black Myth Wukong as well. Can't forget about that one. Another Souls-like S game in the folklore of Wukong. Looked interesting to me as well. August 20th, 2024. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2, September 9th, 2024. So I got to play the first one. And as being a third-person shooter lover, I'm sure I'll like it. Final Fantasy I've seen Rise and Tide, early 2024. Metaphor Fantasio by Atlas. Also an action game coming out late 2024. Stormgate, early access mid 2024. And a few other titles. So I knew I was missing. I knew GameSpot was missing. I guess I said the biggest announcement, so the other titles weren't appear to be big for them. But a lot going on there. Let me just recollect my thoughts here. This will show you the ones I'm really hyped for. Obviously, I will be checking out that Ragnarok Valhalla DLC. I don't think you even need to play the core game to just access the roguelike mode, but I should probably play through it regardless. So I am interested in that. I will be playing the finals as well, and I'll give my thoughts on that next podcast, I promise. Persona 3 Reload will be on the Game Pass February 2nd. Suicide Squad, I got to look at as well. Helldivers 2 looks interesting to be like a third-person co-op shooter. Anything third-person I usually keep my eye on. So we will be keeping our eye on that. FF7 Rebirth is obviously the big chunky title. We're going to be one of the bigger releases in Q1 2024. Rise of Ronin, again, something I'm keeping my eye on. I'm not going to lie, the audio was kind of scuffed during what they were presenting at the Game Awards. And visually, and just the game overall didn't look as crazy as I thought it would be, given the studio behind it. But usually their gameplay is what carries the Team Ninja games. And if they can kind of nail the open world game, like to me, what it seems like Rise of Ronin will be is like a hardcore version of Ghost of Tsushima. That is yet to remain seen if that's what it will be, if that's what it will really be. But yes, I'm interested. Black Myth Wukong, interested in that. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2, also interested in that. Final Fantasy 16, I gotta play it. Maybe I'll be interested in DLCs once I get through it. Metaphor ReFantasio, the action RPG Atlas, interested in that. Hellblade 2, Visions of Mana, interested in those two as well. 2025, we had Monster Hunter Wilds. I am guilty of not really playing Monster Hunter World or Rise. You know, even after being told many times to check it out, it just seems like a lot, like a big time sink, right? And time is a currency that I really value nowadays. Hence why I started this podcast compared to trying to push in a bunch of streams and stuff because I just don't have time. It's not on my side. But maybe I'll check out Rise. It's better to get through, but or like quicker to get through than World is. But yeah, that could be cool. And then the games without release dates, obviously Rise of Golden Idol, I'm interested in. Got to play the first one. No Rest for the Wicked is still like very, very up for me. And then, oh yeah, also shit, man. Like these sites aren't doing this shit properly, man. Um, Sega had a really interesting trailer where they showed 5 games, and if you've been gaming a long time like myself, essentially they're taking a bunch of games from the Genesis and Dreamcast era, and in one trailer they showed a remake for Streets of Rage, Shinobi, Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, and Golden Axe. Like 5 complete remakes in one trailer, and said had more in development. So they didn't give a definitive release date, but I'm really hoping like a couple of them come out next year, 2024, or maybe they'll just like release all 5 as a package. Could you imagine they just release all 5 as a package? Because all of these games are a little shorter in length. Golden Axe, Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, and Streets of Rage. But if they released all 5 remakes in one package, could you imagine? And then did like another pack like that, and just kept doing that. I think would be awesome for nostalgic gamers such as myself, and just getting it shown, giving a modern touch to all of them, and introducing it to new audiences. But a lot of questions yet to be remain seen on how Sega approaches those games from a gameplay standpoint and how they modernize them. I know Jet Set Radio needs a modernization for sure, but visually they look sick. So how could I ever forget about that? So yes, very excited for what Sega's doing as well. We'll be keeping a close eye on that. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero as well. OD for sure. Anything with Kojima. Marvel's Blade. Probably not gonna see that game like forever, but interested in that as well. So there's a lot. There's a lot. If I had to give my big 3 takeaways, I would probably say No Rest for the Wicked, Marvel's Blade, and the Sega remakes. My top 3. Those is top 3 things I really want you to see from all these announcements. It's probably going to be those. But a lot was shown for a variety of genres and fans. So if they had something you did not like, I don't know what to tell you. Obviously, looking here, we had a lack of presence from Nintendo. So I'm sure they'll be cooking their own direct pretty soon, especially with the rumors of new hardware coming out in 2024. So Nintendo fans, don't lose hope yet. Very strong year for Nintendo anyways this year, regardless. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario RPG, Fire Emblem Engage, Pikmin 4, among many, many, many other titles exclusively released this year. So they definitely went out with the bang. So they'll be cooking something soon. I also think PlayStation is they must be cooking something, because to have really just Rise of the Ronin here present with the definitive release date for March 22nd, and then some FF16 expansions, and obviously FF7 Rebirth is what is Sony really riding on to carry them for a strong Q1 2024. The exclusivity seems like it's not going to be uber long on FF7 Rebirth, from what I've been hearing and seeing and buzzing within the industry. But aside from that, there hasn't been much cooking, giving all the developmental teams and IPs PlayStation has. So I'm interested to see what their 2024 and 2025 roadmap looks like. I'm thinking Wolverine will be a 2025 title, but where's Factions? Where's Gorilla's next game? Where's Ghost of Tsushima 2? Maybe they're doing too much of the open world samurai shit, because they have Ghost of Tsushima already, and it seems like that's gonna get a sequel. And then they have Rise of the Ronin, and FF7 Rebirth also open world. And I've talked about this before. I think maybe Sony's trying to trap themselves, kind of in this third person, storytelling open world environment. We will see. We will see for sure. But out of the big 3, obviously Nintendo didn't have a presence. Sony had expected a presence. But I think surprisingly Microsoft cooked finally. How Blade 2 looks awesome. OD finally showing Kojima's game is awesome, and having Jordan Peele part of it's pretty big. Looks very interesting to me. Arcane working on Blade, also pretty crazy. And then obviously they keep pushing the Game Pass forward, and they're gonna have Persona 3 on it, and probably X amount of other titles as well. So, kind of my thoughts, kind of what I've expected. Well, not expected, but a lot was shown, a lot of surprising stuff. But I think obviously if you're a big Nintendo Sony guy, you might have been like, okay, I want a little bit more. And obviously there's been games, I feel really bad for the Silk Song fans. I'm one of them. Just never get anything. But yeah, that's kind of it for the announcements. I'm just gonna scroll down here and see some of the comments. Um, People still asking if Blade will be an Xbox exclusive. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Um, People excited for Monster Hunter. People complaining about Arcane making Blade, not knowing this is two different studios. Some guy said a whole lot of nothing. I don't know if that's true. Let's see. Arcane Lion has never made a good game. Xbox hasn't had an exclusive 2015. They went third party in 2017. This guy said Arcane Lion never made a good game when they literally made the Dishonored series, and obviously Deathloop was a bit more mixed, but people always forget it's two studios, man. All right. Anyways, that's for the announcement. Let's talk about the show overall now. So, a couple things I know I wanted to talk about. First and foremost, and Jeff's already kind of addressed this, but I think the winners, the award recipients, need more time to talk. And I say this because right off the rip, when I saw the Best Narrative Award presented by Christopher Judge, aka the voice of Kratos, and it was won by Alan Wake 2 and Sam Lake, obviously, very emotional and very happy to win Best Narrative in a very stacked narrative year. Spoke for maybe about under a minute, and then they started playing the music for him, and I've been seeing the video footages from the awards saying, the teleprompter saying, please wrap it up and stuff like that. And, I get it. It's so that the show wasn't like 6 hours long because it's still being like 3.5. It's pretty long. And it's to keep the flow of it. And I know Jeff Keighley relies on his advertisements heavy for the show to happen every year. So obviously it's going to be very ad focused and very announcement focused because that's what brings in the viewers. But since it's called the Game Awards, we should probably focus a little bit more on the games, right? I understand you have quotas to meet and you have expectations by people that you want to kind of deliver and whatnot. But my suggestion is maybe we should have a limit on the presenter side of thing as well. Because I swear to God, Christopher Judge was up there cracking jokes, saying his speech last year was longer than the COD campaign. It's probably true. But he still talked for like 3-4 minutes, man. Like you're just here to present an award. Maybe just make a joke like, "Hey, my speech last year was longer than the COD campaign." Ha ha ha. And then be like, "All right, here's the nominees." Right? So poor Sam Lake, and it happened time and again. Anthony Mackie came out, and it's no disrespect to Anthony Mackie. Okay, Clarence from 8 Mile. Okay, Falcon. And apparently he did good in Twisted Metal as well. No disrespect to you, but this man was up here like 5 minutes, doing like a stand-up bit. Like, just present the award, okay? And this was criticized heavy on Twitter, and I'm glad it was because it is at the end of the day still the award show, right? Not the Game Announcements 2023. It's the Game Awards. TGA stands for the Game Awards, not the Game Announcements, which you couldn't know the difference if you watched the show. But please, if we're gonna have a limit on the winners, award recipients, and their speeches, for the sake of timeliness and flow of the show, let's just do it both ways, okay? I think it should be about a minute the presenter has, right, to talk. Obviously, you show your video packages for each of the nominees, and then you just then you just announce the winner. I think a minute is fair, and then about 2 to 3 minutes for this award recipient. Doesn't mean they have to, take up the whole 2 to 3 minutes, but at least give them minimum two, right, before you start playing that music, because a lot of sweat, blood, and tear go into video game development. We've been noticing that between, the long time it takes studios to come out with games nowadays in between games. And it was a tough year for the gaming industry as a whole with all the layoffs. Mentioned in the last episode, just with Naughty Dog, such a beloved and, powerful and probably profitable studio still facing, employees still facing hardships and layoffs. And I think it was what, like 5,000 plus people in the gaming industry that got laid off this year. So let's give the recipients some time, hey, to really relish in their achievements of what they were able to put together. Because as gamers, like I said, the Game Awards might just be mostly for the announcements, and Jeff knows that, and that's what he focuses on. But for these devs, this Game Awards show is the biggest showcase for them to receive an award for their game to get more eyes on it. Like I said, that's why indie devs hope to get their game shown here because it's the best platform for them to be seen. Um, Even like a team like Remedy and Alan Wake 2, I'm glad won like best narrative and best game direction, and they had that performance, and I'm glad they had all that because I think the game only sold like 200,000 copies first month, which is like what the fuck. So and I mentioned this in the very first episode of Digital Time Downtime as well. The Game Awards is going to exist in this format. It's not going to exist at all, especially at this, at this like caliber for it to be this grand, right? Because Jeff does need his advertisements and his announcements to bring in the viewers and bring in the money. But please, if we're gonna limit the award recipients' time, we should limit the presenters' time as well, for the sake of making the show even more seamless and tight knit and more focused, right? And as much as I love Kojima, I think he's awesome. I love Metal Gear Solid. I love Death Stranding. I love his narrative mind. He didn't need 10 minutes to talk there, right? Show the trailer. Have Kojima come out because it's always great to see him. Have him talk briefly about the game. Have Jordan Peele come out and say they're collabing and there's gonna be more creative minds in the game. Boom! It could be like a 2 to 3 minute segment. Okay. So there's just things like that. The kind of you can call them nitpicky, but I just think if it's called the Game Awards, there should be some sort of focus on the awards aspect of it as well. But a shout out to all the winners, like I mentioned earlier. Nothing was surprising to me for the most part. Resident Evil 4 didn't win anything, just a thing of note, just something I kept note of while watching the awards. And Marvel Spider-Man 2, I think, despite being up for like 6 categories, did not win anything as well. Obviously, Spider-Man 2 would have been a great winner in the action adventure category any other year. But since Baldur's Gate 3 was going to be Game of the Year winner, there's really no choice but for Zelda to win Best Action Adventure. So now, let's talk about have you played this week's segment. And I mentioned earlier it's going to touch base what was shown at the Game Awards, and it will. Have you played this is going to be just a collection of what Sega shown this week. So they showed 5 remakes: Street of Rage, Shinobi, Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, and Golden Axe. Now, when I was really young, I remember playing Streets of Rage on the arcade machines. I haven't got a chance to play Streets of Rage 4 yet. Same thing with Shinobi. I think Shinobi was on the Genesis, the 2D one. I did play that as well, but don't remember much of it because I was like 3-4 years old at the time. 3-4 years old at the time. But I have played Streets of Rage. I played Shinobi. I played Jet Set Radio. Not during the Dreamcast era. I actually never owned the Dreamcast, but I played it off Steam. I want to say 2021. but I'm just gonna get the exact date for you because I have my game organized in terms of like beaten, unbeaten. Yes, last played January 27, 2021. Got through the entire game in around 6.5 hours, so not very long. Um, and when I was mentioning that Sega's remaking it, I'm glad they are, because the art style on Jet Set Radio is really sick already. So if they just like make that modern HD 4K or whatever you want to call it, it's gonna just look fucking sick. But if there's any game that needs modernization for its controls, it's definitely Jet Set Radio because the controls on that are whew. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah. And then we have Crazy Taxi again, something I played deeply. The arcade machines. Also played a shitload of it on the PS2. And then Golden Axe. This is probably the one title I actually haven't played. I think I played the one on the Game Boy Advance. It's like a side-scrolling beat 'em up, hack and slash kind of game. It wasn't the Game Boy Advance, right? Or am I tripping? Sega Smash Pack. So I did play Golden Axe, but all five of these titles: Streets of Rage, Shinobi, Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, Golden Axe, is for this week's Have You Played This? Just because this was not something I was expecting Sega to announce. But if you haven't played any of these titles, you can find ways. Jet Set Radio is going to probably be your easiest in terms of you can find it on Steam. Jet Set Radio Future is also a great title. So if you do own a Series X, I believe Jet Set Radio Future is one of the original Xbox compatible backwards titles. So you can just try to find a hard copy and slide it in your console. I think you can also find Crazy Taxi. There's so many Sega collections and Genesis collections, and they've done so many it's hard to keep track of. I'm sure you can find all 5 games, and all 5 are great. Like I said, Streets of Rage and Golden Axe are both like 2D beat 'em ups, but with completely different settings and atmospheres. Shinobi is more like a 2D action side scroller platformer, kind of in not a Metroidvania sense, but more so just straight up like a 2D action platformer. Jet Set Radio is just like, I don't even know how to describe it. Just like kind of like open sandbox, 3D platformer type of, I guess, sports high visual toward the game. It's just sick, man. But I really do hope they modernize the controls in this remake. Crazy Taxi, Crazy Taxi. You smell me? Just bona fide classic. You just play that game hours and hours on end for fun. So yeah, go play some Sega games for Have You Played This? Specifically focusing on these 5 just because we saw the remakes for it, and a very, very surprising, uh, you know, trailer for me at least. So I know, for nostalgic people like kids like myself, I know I was about like 6 or 7 years old when the Dreamcast came out, probably. That kind of grew up with these games on the arcades and then know about them. And obviously some of the older gamers, boomer gamers, very excited about some of these. Um, I saw what's his face. I saw Cold Carnage, in his segment involving Sega and how excited he is for the titles. Maximilian and the rest of Yo-Yo Video Games excited. So obviously that's gonna be the demographic that's gonna be very excited for these titles for sure. But I hope Sega finds its way of introducing them to new players as well. So very excited about those. Yeah, but that's gonna be the 5 titles. Probably the only time you'll see 5 titles and Have You Played This? For this week's Have You Played This segment. But I appreciate everyone for checking out the episodes. This is the 4th one, so already a month in doing digital downtime. Time flies. So it's been great. The people that hear me on whatever platform it is. Obviously, we're on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, but we're on a plethora of other podcasting sites. So if you use Podbean or whatever else, I don't know. There's uh, it goes on a bunch of podcast directories. So wherever you're listening on, I appreciate it. As always, if you're looking for me and my individual handles, it's Gilly, GILLIEPG, on whatever Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. In terms of digital downtime, you can find digital downtime on YouTube. You can also find it on Digital Down Pod at Digital Down Pod on Twitter. And then Digital Downtime Podcast at gmail.com. As always, if you're looking to sponsor something, you're looking to be a guest on the show, any other comments and concerns, you can reach out on the email or the Twitter, probably the two best places. That was the Game Awards 2023. Overall, essentially no surprises with most of the winners, but some very surprising game announcements. As a whole, it's just been a wonderful, wonderful year as gaming. And like I said, if you do not believe that sentiment, you definitely aren't opening up or expanding your horizon in games. And that's all I got to say. You know what I mean? And 2024 is looking even crazier, regardless of what platform you game on. A whole array of multi-platform games look wonderful. PlayStation has some things cooking, but they must have more cooking in the back pot somewhere. Nintendo is always steadily cooking, and Xbox's strategy of acquiring X amount of game studios for X amount of years is finally start showing some dividends. So I hope 2024 is a strong year for them. I really do. And I think whether you like Western RPGs or JRPGs, platformers, action games, FPSs, for the most part, there's something for everyone. And I'm glad the Game Awards exists for a platform for these games to get shown, especially the more indie, smaller ones. But yeah, we need to fix the pacing in terms of the presenters and the award recipients. So once you fix that, Jeff, give a little bit more time to the awards themselves instead of running through like 5 winners in like a minute, right? I understand it. Trust me, I get it. Advertisements for the money, announcements for the viewership. But you already recognized it, so yeah. But as always, I'm your host, Prince Gill, aka Gilly, aka your boy. Smell me. Thank you for being here. And we will see you next week, as usual, every Friday, right here on Digital Downtime. Thank you very much.